V'hinei al pi hanal, according to what we just now said, that shaknisa la'aretz, highest idea avoided the kiyum Torah mitzvahs. We finished the earlier thing that we find throughout Torah Shabbat, and even more so in Torah Shabbat Peh. He spoke about that entering Eretz Yisrael was through the avodah of Torah mitzvahs. So that's in the literal sense of the physical entry into Eretz Yisrael. So just like it's in the physical entry in Eretz Yisrael, so we need to say Shekola and Yom Shabbat K'nisa Eretz Yisrael. All the matters of entering Eretz Yisrael is to be found also in the spiritual service of Hashem. This means the noise of Aklasa in addition to the general idea. The Mekivan Shah Torah Nitzvi, since the Torah is everlasting. Moving is understood Shafil Kasher Geldina Martseinu in Schakam Malad Maseinu. Even when we were in exile from our land and we were distanced from our land, like we say in davening in Musaf. Hainu. So the Rebbe points out parenthetically that Avshagam Oz Yartseinu Bad Maseinu, even once we went into Golas, it's still our land, it's still our country. Nekol Mokum still in all Hari Galinu, Ischakim Memenu still in all we were exiled and we were distanced from it. It's the opposite of the state of when you will come to the land instead of coming into the land. It's the opposite of coming into the land. So seemingly, it's a big chiddush that even though we're not actually in the land and we're the opposite of coming into the land, still in all the directives and lessons of the Torah. Including also the directive in the pasuk that will be when you will come to the land, etc. They are everlasting and they are in their full force. Also in this situation where it is the Yidden are the opposite of Kisavei La'aretz. So that's, first of all, just like every part of the Torah is everlasting, the same thing, the idea of Kisavei La'aretz is there, everlasting, even, and the lessons associated with that, even when we are the opposite of Kisavei La'aretz. In addition to that overarching theme that there's to be found in all Torah mitzvahs, in the Oidzes, and additionally, when it comes to entering Eretz Yisrael, the Kivim Shaknisa La'aretz Hoysai Deshmir Sachukim HaMishpatim. Since entering Eretz Yisrael is through observing the Chukim and the Mishpatim, moving for this understood Sheyesh Ben Ba'avoida B'Knisa La'aretz in Yonim Shutafim in Yonim Shavim, that there is to be found in the Avoida and the entrance into Eretz Yisrael things that have a common denominator and similar things, and that spiritual connection is something that's applicable now as well. Till things are actually identical. Entering Eretz Yisrael and mitzvahs are practically identical. How do we say they're practically identical? Mitzvahs are mitzvahs. Entering Eretz Yisrael is entering Eretz Yisrael. Because kischar mitzvah, since we know the reward of the mitzvah is the mitzvah itself, that the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya. Why is the reward of the mitzvah itself? Because, and not why, but from this, since the reward of the mitzvah is the mitzvah itself, so from the reward of the mitzvahs, you could know what the mitzvah is. So we see that the reward of a mitzvah and a mitzvah are intricately connected. So therefore, since the reward for entering Eretz Yisrael is, the reward for keeping Torah mitzvahs is entering Eretz Yisrael, therefore it's understood that they are practically identical because the reward and the mitzvah is one. So the Rebbe is going to explain the connection spiritually between entering Eretz Yisrael and how it's identical with the idea of mitzvahs. And that's based and connected with the famous Hayom Yom from yesterday. The idea behind this is the Nisa Medrash. It's brought down the Medrash Lama Nikra Shema Aretz. Why is it called Aretz? Because it wanted and wished to do the will of its maker. That's the idea of the land of every single man and woman. What is the 4 cubits of a Jewish person? What is his true land? Mashakol echad ve'echad miYisrael yesh beiratzin pashut, which that every single Yid has a pure, unadulterated will, l'kayim ritzayin hakoinit, to fulfill the will of his maker. Top of the next page. Ukipsaka Rambam la'halach l'mais, like the Rambam rules lahalacha, that we actually act upon it. Shekol echad ve'echad miYisrael, that every single Yid be'ezeh matzah sheyeh, whatever situation they might find themselves in, roitzu lasis ritzayin koinit, he wants to do the will of his maker, and therefore someone that doesn't want to, let's say, give a get can be coerced until he says, I want. How come? Even though a get needs to be given willingly, because every Yid wants to do the will of his maker, he just needs to verbalize it. So he explains this further, who the idea behind this is, the Niksiv Gab Avram Avinu, it says by Avram Avinu, Lech lecha me'arzcha maladcha be'savicha el ha'aretz asher reka. Just like Yisaveh el ha'aretz, that we say every Yid has the aretz, has the ratzon towards Hashem. The same thing Avram Avinu was told, similarly, go out from your land, your birthplace, your father's home, to the land that I will show you. The land meaning what we're talking about now, Yisaveh el ha'aretz. Hainu, this means, do not consider and do not let it hold you back and take consideration your land, meaning your nature, and your birthplace, meaning your habits. Base of Yicha, what's it mean? Your father's house, in the education that Avraham Avinu received in his father's home. Ki'im, rather, leave all of that behind. Lech lecha goymer, go el ha'aretz asher reka, to the land, meaning the will that I will show you. Hainu sheyelu b'derech shekadosh baruch hu moira lo v'negel hanagasa b'chaya yom yom. He should go in the way that Hashem showed him concerning the way he acts in a day-to-day basis. This same idea is inyan haknisa la'aretz, ba'avodas kol echad ve'echad. It's the entry to Eretz Yisrael. That's in the avoid of every single Yid. Every single Jew has to search out and reveal the Avram within him, and also go to the land that I will show you, to the will of Hashem. Just like the literal entrance to Eretz Yisrael was by the power of Avram Avinu, through going through the land, he acquired it by chazak. As we know, there are different ways, and the Gemara discusses how one acquires a land. So the Rashi brings down, Chazal explain that Avram Avinu being told to go to its length and to its width or breadth. So that is one of the ways how he acquired. He performed one of the ways of acquisition, which is acquisition through a chazaka, through taking hold of the property. Like it's explained at length in many places, and also in codifiers, how chazaka is the means to acquire land, real property. It became his land and an everlasting inheritance for his children after him. So too it's concerning the entry to Eretz Yisrael spiritually, that it's by the power that Avraham Avinu gave us that we, each one of us, enters Eretz Yisrael spiritually. Just like Avraham Avinu physically gave us an inheritance of the land, he also spiritually gave us the entry to the land, Beruchnis. What did Avraham Avinu share with us? This is the innate, concealed love that every single Yid has. It's an inheritance from our forefathers. Therefore, when he does the service and the manner of Avram Avinu, and then this becomes his land. It's not just Avram Avinu's land. So he explains, why does it become his land? Because a Yerusha means that it belongs to the Yodesh. Because every Jew inherits from Avram Avinu this level about the land, that it wanted to do the will of its maker. In addition to the literal idea of inheriting the land. Like it says, that one was Avram, v'yarash es haaretz, or the Rebbe inserts the word zaris haaretz. So that was Avram Avinu's thing, that he created this possibility, and he made that his children were the one that inherited the land. So the same thing, the Avram Avinu made us inherit this will of wanting Hashem and desiring Hashem, this Avam Soteres. That's also what it says, that it will be when you will come to the land. The Ein V'hoya El Lashon Simcha. So the Chazal explained that when it says the word V'hoya is an expression of joy. Why is it V'hoya an expression of joy? So we've had this a few times in other Mamarim. Shizel Fishaïsis Vavke Kaidbes Loisis Yudke Kimvor Bekam Makaimis. Normally, Yudke Vavke, the shame of the Eibishter, the first says Yudke, then Vavke. When you flip it around, and even the Vavke goes up to the level of Yudke, that's why the Vavke is first. So that causes joy, like it's explained in many places. It doesn't go into it over here. This means though the avodah of going for you to the land that I will show you, by every Jew, just like by Avraham Avinu, they also need to travel from their land and from their birthplace and from their father's home, which means they need to leave behind their nature and their habits, and they need to leave behind how they were educated in their parents' home to reach that level. So this might be very difficult and daunting, and a person might feel not able to do it, and might bring him down. The kol makom still no mekayim moisa b'simcha v'tuv levav b'tachsa shleimus. He fills it with joy and gladness of heart and an ultimate perfect way. Because this level that it wished to do the will of its maker becomes his actual land. It becomes the land of the person of the person that's doing it. So therefore he's joyous, just like anyone that tells him, leave your father's home, but you're going to have now, this whole land is going to be yours. Because he's doing it joyously and he's happy about it, he enters this land with all of his matters, even in his thought, speech, and deed, and also in a way of joy. That's the idea of entering the land. When you enter fully. You can't enter by just sticking your hand in. So the same thing, when a Yid is entering this will, he's entering this level of this desire for Hashem and Alakus and Torah and Mitzvahs, he enters it fully and in a joyous manner. The next paragraph, this will be understood. What it says, that will be when you will come to the land that Hashem your God is giving to you. You will come on your own power and strength, but it's being given to you from above. That's one of the questions we asked earlier. Is it you coming, or is it Noisenloch? Is it Hashem's giving you? How does it combine? So he says, even though the Chazal said, if not for Hashem's helping a person, he wouldn't be able to overcome his Yetzer Hara. So that means in Chassidus parlance, before there's the inspiration down here below, we always start off with the inspiration from above. Similar to even in El, we speak about Anilu Doidi V'Doidi Li, even though it's about first the Yisrus L'Sata, then the Yisrus L'Leila. But prior to that, we have the Melech Besada, we have the king in the field to enable us. So every Yisrus L'Sata needs to be preceded by Yisrus L'Leila. So that's why before it says, or as an idea connected to Kisavi, there has to be Noisenlach. So how does it fit in the pasuk? The order of the pasuk is the other way. It says, "You will come that Hashem gave you." Isn't it the opposite? So the Rebbe says no. In the parentheses, he explains how the order fits. Because of like the simple meaning of this pasuk, Asher Tavi Lord Asher Hashem Alkecha Noisenlach Mikvar. you will come to the land that Hashem gave you already before you came. So it was given to us, and then we come. Before this Rusla Sata. First was the giving of Hashem, and by the power of Hashem's gifts, that's how we had the capability to enter the land. So that's what he's saying, that even though it needs to start off with Hashem, but it's not about what Hashem does, but it's about us. 2 lines in the bottom of the page. The goal and the purpose and the intention is that the giving from above should be through his service from below, not in the way of bread of shame, heaven forbid. In other words, it shouldn't be totally a gift from above. Hainu, top of page 9, there has to be that you need a toil. And then, once you have the level of toiling, only then is there the promise that if you toiled, then you will find. And not just you will find, but in a way of finding that's completely higher than the toiling. The Rebbe often emphasizes this, that when it says in the Maimer Chazal, Yogaito Matzasa Tamin, that you toiled and you found, finding is not something that it's not an earned thing. When you say you earn a salary, you earn a paycheck, so that's completely corresponding to whatever work you did, you earn. What's an idea of finding something in the street? When you found something that's not anything comparable to what you did before. It's not like you're walking in the street, earned you this mitzvah, this find. So finding, mitzvah, indicates something that's done completely beyond anything that we put in effort. So this is what the Maimer Chazal is telling us. We have to toil. There's no vacation. We need to work. But when we work, we will get not something that's commensurate to our work. We will get something that's a mitzvah in comparison to our work, way beyond it. This is also what's explained in Chassidus. In the pasuk of the beginning of our parsha, initially there's the avoid of the person by his own power, and everything that's necessary in the idea of when you will come to the land, that it wanted to do the will of its maker, meaning in general, the avodah that I need to do is to use my mind to be able to reach such a will. So we're talking here about a will that's based on intellect. Through this, it becomes a vessel to what Hashem, your God, gives you, to the gift from above, of the revelation of the will as beyond reason and knowledge. What's called the will of the heart. The pure, unadulterated will, to the very essence of the will. So that's the yogaiti and the matzasi. Yogaiti, the toil I put in, is to think about things that are ma'odim me to have a will that's based on reason. But then that's kisavoy, that's my work. And then I will come a higher level, a level that's beyond my work in a way of mitzvah. That's a will that's beyond reason and knowledge that only comes down once I've invested and found my understanding and to be able to reach that will. Now we continue in the idea of why does it say Yerusha? If it's a matana, it's not a Yerusha. Matana, Yerusha, two separate things. What's the two things in matana and Yerusha? So it says in the second paragraph, because of the pas continues, Yerusha, you'll inherit it. Inyan ha-Yerusha ba'avoid. What's the idea of Yerusha in the avoid of a person who inyan ma'isa ha-mitzvahs? It's the actions of performance of mitzvahs. Ba'avoidus ha-berurim, the avoid of refining the sparks. Shal netzutzes mezayin malchum oil matayu. The sparks that fell from the 7 kings of the world of Toyu, meaning the 7 midas of the world of Toyu, shenaflu l'mata, and fell down here below. And someone that falls from their level is called, in Kabbalah terms, dead. Since they died, so now we are their inheritors. We are now inheriting these sparks from those that have passed, meaning the Shviras HaKelim of Toyu. This is what the Chazal say, that Yerusha has no cessation. It's something that can't be, first I'll be murdered this person, and then I'll be murdered that person. Mashenkin matana, as opposed to a matana. A gift can be given, for X amount to them, and then it could be later someone else, etc., etc. Why does Yerusha have no hefsek, have no cessation? It goes over and it remains by them. Because when the person's service is only from the perspective of the godly soul, it's possible that matters of the animal soul and the matters of his lot in the world could come and interfere and mix into the mix and prevent him doing from what he needs to do. That could be a hefsek. It could be a concealment and covering. Therefore, in his matters of holiness will be a cessation. As opposed to when his service is in refining and transforming the powers of the animal soul, through transforming his animal soul. He transforms his lot in the world. He transforms the spark that fell from its level, and he makes from that thing, that spark, he transforms it into a mitzvah, an everlasting thing. The spark goes upward in such a manner that it doesn't stop. Because the everlasting nature of a mitzvah, like the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, is something, even though here, when I'm done the mitzvah, but in Oil Misal Yoinim, it goes on forever. This also indicates that his avoida doesn't get interrupted. It's continuous, it's constant, nothing can interfere. Like it's explained in many places. If there is a cessation over time in anything, that's an indication that something was already missing at the beginning that allowed that eventually it should cease. As opposed to when the avoid is the ultimate perfection, it's not possible to be any type of cessation. Because of Yeshafta, then he continues, you shall settle it. These two levels, Matan of Yerusha, gift and an inheritance. Both of them are on a transcendent level. What's the idea of settling it, which it means should be settled and internalized, again, like the Yom of yesterday. Is similar to what's explained by the Mittler Rebbe and following it, concerning the contemplation that one has to think about as an introduction for davening. It's not enough to have a general meditation about godliness. There has to be a specific thing that he's focused on to fix up, specifically about himself and so on. Because only then it'll go on. It'll remain with it. So too, it's in our topic. Only when this will for Hashem comes down, settled and internalized. So then the avoida is something that can be grasped and can exist. Because it comes down in action, in specific, detailed actions. It grasps and anchors the general inspiration. It should be in a way of a change, without a change and not a cessation. Top of the last page. That means this day you became a nation. Through him entering the spiritual Eretz Yisrael, that wanted to do the will of its maker. In such a way that you inherit it and settle it. Through this he became a nation to Hashem your God. Because through fulfilling mitzvahs, mitzvahs and lashon tzafsa v'chibur mitzvahs, and the word togetherness and joining. Shal yodem misachad and mitzvah mitzvahs. Through that he becomes joined with the one who commands the mitzvahs. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Hashem. U'ba'ofen shall v'yirishta, in a way that you inherit it. And we said an inheritance is she'ein lo zehefsik, it has no cessation. V'yashafta ba, and you will settle it. She'nimshul b'cholak ha'experim shlo, it comes down all of its inner soul powers. And that's what it means you became a nation, Hashem your God, and the rest is going to be the barachas that should come down physically in Eretz Yisrael. The pasuk doesn't leave its simple meaning. The idea avodah now through the above mentioned avodah miskayim in the Tavah Lord's going to kipshuta, it becomes a filled idea that when you'll come to the land in the literal sense, just like it was the first time when this pasuk was said by Moshe Rabbeinu, through guarding the mitzvahs and observing the chukim spiritually, it was an actuality down here below 10 handbreadths. They will come to the land physically that Hashem gives you, and you will inherit it and settle it. So too throughout all the generations, they call mitzvah shemekayim through every mitzvah we fulfill. Why they call inyan shal through every matter that in all your ways you shall know him. I call masachal Hashem Shemaim, or in all your actions you should be for the sake of heaven. Machrias atzma is kol oim kula kavschus. He tilts the scale for himself, for the entire world, for the side of merit. He causes for himself and for the entire world a salvation, like the Rambam rules, and he speeds up the Geula in a way that he merits, in a fast way. It should be literally, you will come to the land. Because of Mamish speedily, came the coming of Mashiach, out of joy and gladness of heart, because in truth, already now Hashem, your God, is giving you. Like Chazal say, I already gave it to you. From the time of Avraham Avinu, the land was given to all of its boundaries. So it should be speedily, in our understanding of speed, will come to Yisrael, where our youth and our elderly and our sons and our daughters and their silver and gold with them, all the refinement that sparks from his portions in the world, so much more so from this sparks in his animal soul, as that the animal soul becomes one with the godly soul. All this becomes in the way of a land that is your allotment, and you inherit it and you settle it, and speedily mamash.